Hello and welcome to the Varietal Show. My name is Rory, and you are watching Varietal-Literature's YouTube channel. We have a website, varietal-literature.ca. It's a group of Vancouver writers who just enjoy narrative and having fun with it. And we do 2 streams a week. Tuesday is reading folktales, and you should totally watch it because I really enjoy it. So I have to assume someone else does. And then what we do today is we're going to actually do some live writing, which the fun in that is basically being able to interject live, and I have to make sense of your suggestions. But also if you're just curious to see like how a writer writes, it's maybe insightful for you. So GS says, good evening. I'm curious about your theory. Well, I mean, yeah, okay, I'll get to it. On Toy Story, it's a reference to the title. GS says, great quote on your post-it. Oh yeah, in the opening window, the Ernest Hemingway quote. That war is always a crime. He has incredible insights on war. I mentioned 2 weeks ago that you guys should read Farewell to Arms, and I still hold by that. If only for the first third, where he is savage on war. Okay, so basically, I'm going to cut the noise and I'm going to get straight to what we're here to hear about, which is me coughing, I think. That's right. That's what I put in the in the thing, right? No, we're here for Litgames. Hashtag Litgames. Has anyone done that in like a million years? I remember that was the thing in like 2012. Like a thing, I think even then, tongue-in-cheek. Anyways, Litgames is literature games. It's where like I try to just sort of have fun with writing, because writing can be kind of solitary and sad at times. Maybe not sad. But you know, still just kind of isolating. So we try to have fun with it here. So it's a game about writing of some sort. Some are more game-like than others. This one is going to be more of like an exercise, if you will, in something that I talk about a lot, which is about sort of world building. So, with that said, here is my basic point, and I put it out in the Instagram post, and put it out in the tweet, and it's sort of a bridged version, so it was a little harder to understand because Twitter's limiting. Toy Story gives us toys that have human intellect and emotions. Toy Story gives us toys that have desires that are limited in their supply. So that would be the attention of children, as I recall it. And then finally, Toy Story as a world gives us indications that they do have political thoughts. Now, let me be clear about what political is. Political is about power structures and how those get arranged. And it can be very, very general, and it can be very, very specific. It doesn't mean like they have votes in political parties. It means that they pay attention to hierarchies and structures. And I know that because Toy Story 3 is entirely about a certain power structure and a certain what is found to be illegitimate form of leadership. So obviously, which they fight. To the extent of killing something. So obviously they're fairly political in their own terms. So with all of that said, I want to talk to you about the idea of the implications of the changes you make in a world. If you are interested in world building. Whether that's just you want to be interested in like how to understand it in the media you consume, or whether you want to do it in your own writing. And I talk a little bit about that, and then we're going to have fun with it, because it's fun to build worlds. Or in this case, expand them. Okay, so this is Litgames. We're going to have fun by looking at the implications of the Toy Story world. GS says Farewell to Arms was just on TCM. That's Turner or something network, or Turner Classics. That's what it is. Yeah, I've never actually seen the movie. I've read the book. I wonder how faithful the movie is. If the actress seems like a cardboard cutout of a human, then it's very accurate to the book. Okay. So, the Toy Story Expanded Universe. So, here's the point. When you make a change, we talked a couple of weeks ago about in that changing physics, which didn't end up changing physics, unfortunately, but changing physics in a world to create a new world. We talked about a certain type of world that has one rule change compared to ours, and how that can kind of feed out and create your universe. And that when you're creating worlds, you want to make as few changes as possible to the world you currently occupy. Because the more changes you make, the harder and harder it becomes for the reader to even engage or comprehend your world. Basically, you want it to be easy to read, not because of like the lowest common denominator, because reading is hard, period. It's hard for a person to imagine stuff. So, with that idea in mind, as you make those tweaks though, that one tweak, we looked at how much of a world you can flesh out of one idea, one change. Thing is though, you have to think about it from the other angle when you're building worlds. If I make this change, what about the rest of the world still matches up that I might not be addressing, right? So my basic point here is that if children's attention is a limited resource that toys basically live to get, then what do you think people do with that? They try to possess it, they try to commodify it, they try to gate it, and they try to, monetize it in some way, or straight up battle for it, which got me off on these. This is what I do instead of being a productive member of society, is ponder nonsense like this. It got me off into this viewpoint that, like, there's this kind of cut from the end of Toy Story 3 to Toy Story 4 where we don't really know what happens too much to the toys. We just know they're with this kid, and his original owner goes off to college. So I want to explore the idea of sort of what is the dark side of the Toy Story universe, and how does it manifest? So I said jokingly in my Instagram story that Warlord Woody. I don't know that necessarily Woody would become a warlord, but I'm not precluding it. So let's take that basic idea. Toys talk and live when we aren't looking. Okay. Toys have as many intellectual and emotional capacities as humans, which is what we see. Toys desire human attention. Toys have concepts around power structures. Okay, so first of all, what two toys do you think don't get along? Now, you might be tempted to say, like, boys' toys and girls' toys or whatever else, if that's even a divide that's meaningful. But I think actually history shows you that the people that tend to get into conflicts with each other are the people that are very close to each other. Because, I mean, proximity is one thing, but it means that they're competing for the same resources. So if we're looking at the battles based on toys in the world right now, because there's nothing that indicates that Toy Story doesn't occur in basically our world with some changes. What toys do you think, chat? What toys are going to have to fight for the same resources? Big Drew says, I'm only in for a moment, but I want to say hi. Hope you're all doing well. If I wasn't still at work, I'd stay longer. Hope to be in next week. That's okay, Big Drew. Thanks for dropping by. So, like, for example, young girls is like a market for certain toys and dolls. Would it be Barbies and is Bratz? No, Bratz is done. Bratz is like a dated reference. Who is the main competitor to Barbie anymore? I'm out of my league. If you know, chat, let me know. Big Drew says Furby and troll dolls don't get along. Hey, are either one of those still a thing, or are we just old people? I do like that idea. Furby and troll dolls? That's going in the pile. Furby and troll dolls fight each other. Okay. Why don't we just work with that? Because Furbies are psychotic. I think we can all agree. I had a Furby. And you can think it's cute until the batteries run low. And then you see another side. GS says, no, Bratz is making a huge comeback. Okay. Perfect. Bratz is making imperialistic gains on the finances of the capital of children's attention. Okay, Bratz versus Barbie. I thought didn't Bratz get like sued or something? Why do I know so much about this? Big Drew says G.I. Joe don't like Ken dolls or WWE wrestling figurines. I can see the G.I. Joe WWE thing. Yeah, absolutely. G.I. Joe versus WWE. Okay, I'm just making notes here. Okay, so I'm gonna work with these factions, okay? So let's start with let's do Bratz versus Barbie, because I think those are the most obvious to me. Big Drew says Furby is just a PG-rated Chucky doll. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so the Bratz Nation versus the Barbie Empire. GS says, yes, they got sued. I don't remember the whole story. I just remember they got sued, and that's why they weren't doing anything. I'm assuming by Barbie, which is great for me. G.I. Joe Legion versus WWE. Oof. What is it? I don't know what their like moniker of their tribe would be. Furby, Raggedy Ann versus Buzz Lightyear. That's true. Furby. I like what's a more because Furbies feel like barbarians to me. Like they're half animal. They eat their enemies. That's a Furby. Anyone who tells me otherwise does not understand toys. They're fools, speaking off the cuff here. Okay, so the WWE superstars, yeah, but I'm looking for something that like collectively identifies them in a more traditional national sense. Like, you get the Republic of North Korea or whatever else. Like, is it a WWE Republic? It seems a little put together for WWE. The Furby Herd. Good one, GS. That's excellent. Furby Herd. Don't worry, this won't be the whole stream. I'm just getting some details down here. We're just getting some details done. And then we can start to look at how the Game of Thrones politics of this starts to work out. I saw an article when I was just before I got on stream that said Discovery announces a show that's Game of Thrones but with otters. And I don't know what that means, but it made me laugh a fair bit. And if you're like, what did he say? Did he say otters? I must have misheard that. I said otters, and it's a picture of little otters because it's Discovery. I don't get it. Verbose Neanderthals. The verbose herd I like. Troll Collective. Hey, good idea. Let's make them a little bit more progressive. Okay, so we'll just simplify this, keep the format. Furby's Herd versus Troll Collective. So they're mortal enemies. Again, because they're competing for the same attention. The G.I. Joe, the WWE Throng. Oh, excellent. I like that. You know, I do like Legion, but I'm gonna change G.I. Joe to Republic because I feel like G.I. Joe is self-important enough. Republic of G.I. Joe. Okay, so now we have some competing things. Now, what they compete for, of course, is the oil of the toy world. Fighting for the attention of children. Which is amazing because basically half of these have associated cartoons in the deregulatory era of Reagan, where cartoons were then allowed to basically be advertisements for toys, and they were just essentially fighting each other for the attention of children. So I think it really cuts the heart of Toy Story. Okay, so we have the Furby's Herd, which is Furby's, the Troll Collective. They're fighting. We have the Bratz Nation and the Barbie Empire. They're fighting. We have the Republic of G.I. Joe and the WWE Throng. They're fighting. And what they're fighting for is the attention of children. Now, again, I don't think any of this does violence to the basic concept of Toy Story. So, Pixar, if you need me to draft you up a treatment, I've got it here. Game of Thrones, but Toy Story. I'm sure no brand is going to have a problem with their toy assassinating another toy in a highly political environment. The man suggested G.I. Joe regime. I like that. Regime of G.I. Joe. Okay. So, here's my structure. The oil toy as portrayed by children's toys. Here's my structure to try and like capture this tension between these people. We can go any way we want with it, but just as a start here, I'm going to do us as a kind of a meeting of a sort of United Nations of Toys. And the purpose of this is that this meeting takes place, let's say, in a toy store, like a big one like Toys R Us, which, if you're from America, I apologize for bringing up painful memories that Toys R Us is no longer a thing there. But it is in Canada, exactly the same as it always was, because a bunch of Wall Street investors didn't buy it out and then sack it and split it up into pieces to make money off it. Thankfully, the brand up here was separate. So, or separate enough. So we do still have Toy Stories here. I have no idea what the Toys R Us are in the States. Is it a Target? I don't know. What is it anymore? But anyways, for us, it's Toys R Us. So, they basically have to get along enough or they're never going to get sold. That's their motivation for peace. So they must meet and make treaties and accords to make treaties and accords. They killed Jeffrey. Yeah, they did, Big Drew. Right, stabbed him right through the heart. For what? $1? You know, honestly, I have so many good memories at Toys R Us. Like, I used to deliver newspapers, and the reward for that, what was a foul child labor of a job, was going with your cash to Toys R Us, and it was like, it wasn't just that you bought something there. There were things to look at that you could never afford, but you got tastes of, right? Like when I was a poor kid. Like, I remember to this day playing Sonic on the Dreamcast. My sister and my mother went off somewhere to look at, I don't know, dolls or whatever it was they were looking at. And I remember, like, other kids were coming along and They were going like, hey, I want to try the Dreamcast. And I'm like, I bet you would. Go away. Because it was like the one time I got to play it. And it was, I'm sure it doesn't look like anything now, but you got to understand that the Dreamcast was gorgeous. Gorgeous. Speaking, Big Drew says, speaking of, can Jeffrey the giraffe play the Joffrey character in the story? I don't know how I would do that. But yes, it might happen off screen. For those who don't know, Joffrey is from Game of Thrones, and he is one of the most hated people. He's a child king who does awful things because he's been raised awfully, frankly. Okay, so they must meet to make treaties and accord so they have a chance to be sold at Toys R Us. Because otherwise they'd just be destroying each other and there'd never be anything to sell. So, the last halogen light flickers out as the janitor closes the exit and sets the alarm. With the silence, I can't believe I'm basically writing Toy Story fan fiction. This is just a moment where I was watching myself do it. Big Drew says, I've never seen a single episode of Game of Thrones. You'll know if you like it or not. The first season is... You would know by the end of the first season. It's basically, do you enjoy if somebody who grew up reading Tolkien decided to do a politically realistic version of a fantasy world? Which, I don't know if you know this, but the actual history of the world is a hellscape of misery, and where no one good wins and war solves nothing. Well, I shouldn't say no one good wins. No one's really good, to be honest. But it is well written. I know a lot of people hated the last couple of seasons. They were okay. I think it was more like they were a victim of their own success. The first seasons were so strong that, obviously people expected that to keep up, but it didn't. It didn't help that George just basically got pissy with them and stopped talking to them. And like, they signed on to adapt, not create. And for people out there who really want to get on those guys' backs and screw with them and yell at them about it, frankly, need to reconsider the difference between writing a script for television and writing original content in a world you didn't create. Big Drew says, never been less interested in Game of Thrones now. Thanks, Roars. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you'll know if it's for you or not. It's, people might say, like, well, if you like Lord of the Rings, you'll like that. I don't think so. I like both. But there is nothing about Lord of the Rings that implies you're going to like Game of Thrones. Okay, so the last halogen light flickers out as the janitor closes the exit and sets the alarm. With the silence of the night overtaking the vast linoleum mall of the Toys R Us. Don't overthink it, Rory. We're taking the vast linoleum mall of the Toys R Us. The representatives of the toy nations emerge. I'm gonna go past tense, I guess. It's usually my default. The representatives of the toy nations emerged from their packaging. The first was the small, waddling tuft of hair that was Ambassador Trolley of the Troll Doll Nation. Big Drew says Rock'em Sock'em robots hate dinosaur figurines. Why? Because they're both competing for space in the clearance bin. Oh, toy burn! I wish I had more advanced graphics. I could push a button and be like, toy burn. First was the small waddling tuft of hair that was Ambassador Trolley of the Troll Doll. No, we didn't say nation. Troll Doll what? Troll Doll of the Troll Collective. The next was the equally strange and stilted silhouette. I guess I should say the next to move in the dark. Was the equally stranging? Hey guys, stranging isn't actually a verb, but if it was, what does it mean? Tell me in chat what stranging could mean. We'll make a new word. The next to move in the dark was the equally strange and stilted silhouette of a hellish and fierce Furby. I may as well just write. Big Drew says you should write this under a pseudonym. Trollstoy. Troy's. It's not as good, but Trollstoyevsky for some reason rolls off the tongue well. The troll doll despised this creature for the hell it had wreaked rot upon his nation. But he gave way. He gave the path away to the steps of the beaked monstrosity. For he stood no chance in 1-to-1 combat with it. It's good to see you, Drew. Thanks for coming by. The Furby only referred to itself in its native tongue, spoken by no one and taught by less. This mad ambassador was the only creature seen outside the verbose herd. In times of peace. The troll doll took to waiting outside the meeting place. I love the serious tone when I'm talking about a troll. I should say trolley. We've given him a name. It's less words. Trolley took to waiting outside the meeting place, not wanting to share a table alone with the Furby. The next to approach was Barbie. And her... what's the word I'm looking for? Her treaty nation. In the... oh, getting myself... Okay, it's the regime of G.I. Joe and the Barbie Empire. Okay. The approach was Barbie of the Barbie Empire. I like that. I want her to have the same name. Because they're all called Barbie, right? Well, I guess not all of them. The next to approach was Barbie of the Barbie Empire. And they're trying to cram too much info in. That's what I'm trying to do. And Joe of the... what did we say? Regime of G.I. Joe. Treaty nations that had at times warred together against their foes. The last to arrive were the smaller nations, representatives WWE Throng and Bratz Nation. I don't know who is big in WWE anymore. So yeah, everybody I know is like retired. Whatever. Screw you guys. I'm not young anymore. We'll say Undertaker. Of the WWE. And oh, what's a Brat's name? I'm sure someone in chat knows a Brat's name. Let me know. I'm gonna leave it blank for now. Of the Bratz Nation. Oh man, I've eaten a lot of time. I still want to write about war. I don't know if I'm going to be able to. Chloe. There we go. We got to vote for Chloe. Okay. And WWE was a throng. Attention all. We can begin as I am here, said Barbie of the Barbie Nation. Did I say Barbie Nation? Is that... I'm getting myself confused. Of the Barbie Empire. Even better. Of the Barbie Empire. Sure, that's the most important part of a meeting. Muttered Chloe. Have you an issue with my words And who is speaking them? Huh? Said Barbie. Each representative mumbled this confusing phrase back to themselves. None too sure of its meaning. Okay. Who else do we have to establish conflict with? G.I. Joe and WWE Throng. I'm gonna do Herd and Troll last. I said your arrogance does not equal our reality. Barbie. Said Chloe said with fierce conviction. The wrong way to spell arrogance. Or yours, rather. Chloe said with fierce conviction. And stood nose to nose with Barbie. Now, ladies. This is an orderly affair. Your offenses against the Barbie Empire gain you no ground. Joe said, pushing Chloe away. Trying to think of something here. Hello, Holly's house. Says I just woke up. You're right, Joe, said the troll. We are here to discuss the incursions on our shelf space by the barbarous Furbies. The room turned towards Trolley. and nodded. Well, nearly all did. The Furby, instead, broke the table between them. With its razor beak. And set upon the troll doll before any could intervene. Holly's House says Barbie was always angry that Bratz had actual clothes. Barbie gets pre-printed dollar store slop. It's like the difference between Ferris Fashion Week and a Walmart in Florida. I like that. Broke the tail with a razor beak and set upon the troll doll before any could intervene. By the time Joe and the Undertaker were upon its neon fur trolley was a half digested and scattered set of rubber pellets, I guess. Realizing nothing could be done, and that the Furby was due to turn on them, they ran for the door. However, well, the verbose nation was unsubtle. Verbose herd. However, well, the verbose herd was unsubtle. It could not be said to be dumb. The doors had been barred, leaving the ambassadors of every nation to the mercy of the Furby. And it was this massacre that began the Toy Wars. Coming this fall in the Toy Story Expanded Universe. Exclusively on Disney Plus. Special series. Oh man, I need a title for this. I'm pretty sure I've lost the whole room at this point. I don't have my view count up, but I'm pretty sure it's like 1 or 2 probably left for this weirdness. God, I can't think of a name. I'll think of it later. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna read that back. Especially since Holly missed it there. So basically, we were looking at this idea that in Toy Story, toys talk and live when we're not looking. That's the basic concept. But it's also comes with that is that toys have as many intellectual and emotional capacities as a human does. That they desire human attention, which is a limited resource that they would fight for. And that they have concepts around power structure, as we saw in Toy Story 3, as far as what's legitimate and illegitimate. So we looked at toys that would compete with each other. And like I said, you might be tempted to say, well, opposites compete with each other. But traditionally, things that have common resources and common pools, in this case, it would be basically marketing groups, right? Are markets. So like 2 girl dolls are going to, if that's even an appropriate concept, are going to be competing for similar purchasing, right? So those tend to be the things that battle. Similarity rather than difference tends to imbue conflict. So we came up with the Furbose herd, which is the Furbies, the most fearsome, the Troll Collective, the Bratz Nation, the Barbie Empire, the regime of G.I. Joe, and the WWE Throng. And then we talked about how they would have to make treaties and accords so they have a chance to be sold at Toys R Us. So the Toys R Us is where they have to get along. Otherwise, no one can really be sold if the shelves are a mess and things are missing and so on. So we sort of came to that idea of a UN meeting of toys and Toys R Us. Normal thing to do as a writer. This is absolutely sensible. So the last halogen light flickers out as the janitor closes the exit and sets the alarm. With the silence of the night overtaking the vast linoleum mall of the Toys R Us, the representatives of the toy nations emerged from their packaging. The first was the small, waddling tuft of hair that was Ambassador Trolley of the Troll Collective. The next to move in the dark was the equally strange and stilted silhouette of a hellish and fierce Furby. The troll doll despised this creature for the hell it had wrought upon his nation, but he gave the path away to the steps of the beaked monstrosity, for he stood no chance in one-to-one combat with it. The Furby only referred to itself in its native tongue, spoken by no one and taught by less. This mad ambassador was the only creature seen outside the Furbose herd in times of peace. Trolley took to waiting outside the meeting place, not wanting to share a table alone with the Furby. Next to approach was Barbie of the Barbie Empire and Joe of the regime of G.I. Joe, treaty nations that had at times warred together against their foes. The last to arrive were the smaller nations. Smaller nations representatives. Undertaker of the WWE Throng and Chloe of the Bratz Nation. "Attention all, we can begin as I am here," said Barbie of the Barbie Empire. "Sure, that's the most important part of the meeting," muttered Chloe. "Have you an issue with my words and who is speaking them, huh?" said Barbie. Each representative mumbled this confusing phrase back to themselves. "An issue? What?" None too sure of its meaning. I said, "Your arrogance does not equal our reality, Barbie," Chloe said with fierce conviction and stood nose to nose with Barbie. Now, ladies, this is an orderly affair. Your offenses against the Barbie Empire gain you no ground," Joe said, pushing Chloe away. "You're right, Joe," said Trolley. "We are here to discuss the incursions on our shelf space by the barbarous Furbies." The room turned towards Trolley and nodded. Well, nearly all did. The Furby instead broke the table between them with its razor beak and set upon the troll doll before any could intervene. By the time Joe and the Undertaker were upon its neon fur, Trolley was a half-digested and scattered set of rubber pellets. Realizing nothing could be done and that the Furby was due to turn on them, they ran for the door. However, while the Furbose herd was unsubtle, it could not be said to be dumb. Actually, I like the symmetry of unclever. The doors had been barred, leaving the ambassadors of every nation to the mercy of the Furby. And it was this massacre that began the Toy Wars, coming this fall in the Toy Story Expanded Universe Special Series. Toy Story and the Isle of Tears. Exclusively on Disney Plus. I mean, at least I made myself laugh. Oh, look. It's Spam. Hi, Spam. How are you doing? I'm doing pretty good myself. Just need to get rid of you real quick. My God, there's double spam. That's they're good timing though. And report you. There we go. Holly's house says that she had a book like this when I was a kid, and it was my favorite book. Is that so? I can't imagine you had a book like that. I enjoyed this. As far as I'm concerned, I mean, I did what I wanted to do, which was write stupid fan fiction about Toys R Us, about Toy Story. I do think I'm right. I do think that there are sort of national conflicts. It's hard to really get that across in a quick way. But thanks for people who dropped by. I mean, thank you to Drew for stopping by. Thank you for Holly for dropping by. I'm sorry that you weren't here sooner because it's hard to work and stuff that late, especially on a concept like this, but I do appreciate it. And of course, thank you, GS, for being here. I don't have, I do have a book to recommend, but I don't have it handy because I'm unprepared. But, a friend of mine, Frances Peck, just, put out her first book, and it's getting actually really good reviews, which would be helpful if I could remember what it was called. So let's see if I can find it real quick. It's called The Broken Places. Here. Yeah, Frances Peck, she's on Twitter too. She also does a thing on CBC where she discusses editorial stuff, or at least she used to. She was, I know her through a class she taught about editing, but I also know her as a fellow writer who I talk to pretty regularly. An extremely nice person, and apparently a hell of a writer. I haven't gotten the book yet. I don't even know if it's officially out, but you can pre-order it, and unlike games, pre-ordering books is actually really valuable to small authors. Oh yeah, GS says like and subscribe. Holly's House says, sorry I missed this from the beginning. That's okay. It's all right. It's forever on the internet, whether I want it to be or not. Well, yeah. Check out Frances Peck's book. Thank you to everybody who showed up. And I've been Rory. Follow us on Instagram at varietal_lit. And check out our website, varietal-literature.ca, where we have stories, choose your own adventures, fiction, nonfiction, poetry, everything. Thank you so much. And you don't have to go, but you can't stay here because the store is closed. Get out of my store.